The 2010 Constitution. The drafters of the Constitution envisioned an independent police institution, an institution that would allege or pledge its loyalty to the Constitution and to the sovereignty of the people, as opposed to the political powers in place, because the Constitution stays, but the people in power change. Just imagine a scenario where the military and the police are acting on political commands. Will we have a country? So whatever it is that I'm seeing today, I'm speaking from a very different tone. I am seeing my country sliding into anarchy. This is not anarchy started by the people. It is an anarchy that is being propagated by the state, because you are trying to deny the people their constitutional rights, a constitution they fought for. You know, repeal of Section 2A of the independent constitution costed people's lives, freedom. People were tortured, the Nyayo chambers. These are historical facts that are there in the public domain. The moment you are going to defile this constitution while curtailing the people's rights, and they remember very well what it took them to get here, there is no freedom without a price. They are ready to pay. How I wish that the people in power would remember that, would imagine the transiency of power and know that power is transient, but I would say power is transiently transient. It will come and go. Today, Uhuru Kenyatta speaks as the former president. William Ruto was a former deputy president, opposition leader, and an anti-government crusader. Today he's in the government. History replicates similarity. Whatever it is that he did is what's happening to him today. So whatever it is that they are doing to the people is unjustifiable, it is unconstitutional, and that drives us to the motive of this protest, because initially it was against the finance bill. We scrutinized the finance bill. I read the report that was tabled in the House. It was 391 documents. I went clause by clause. It is very disrespectful for some MPs to say that we Gen Zs do not understand what we are protesting against. We have not even read it. It is the language, the tone, the arrogancy that the MPs used that actually exacerbated the entire situation. Today, as we are on the streets, we are still speaking of a ballooning wage bill, whereas the salary of the speakers of the two houses has been shifted from 1.8 M to, from 1.2 million to 1.8. The deputy speaker is now going to earn 0.96 M from 0.4. The MPs are now going to earn from 725,000 blah blah to 800,000. This is coming at a time that we cannot employ JSS teachers. We cannot employ doctors. Do you expect these people to go out of the street? And then look at the language of the presidency and the people in power. The leader of minority whip or majority whip would tell you, I disagree with the finance bill, but because I am loyal to President William Ruto, I have to vote it. What do you expect? Look at the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah. The language, the arrogance, and the opulence that these characters are manifesting before an emaciated society, a generation that has been robbed of hope and right. It cannot suffice or give an opportunity for the elites to continue maneuvering on their political affairs. And therefore, going forward, it is imperative that the president ought to have acted, at least would have de-escalated the escalating situation. The Gen Zs were very categorical, and actually only people who do not pay attention to details are seeing bad things everywhere. You know, pessimists see problems in everything, but optimists see solutions and possibilities in every problem. Even at this particular problem, as an optimist, I see a scenario where the president can turn all this around, because in our agitation,
how does he do that?
In our agitation, that is where I come. In our agitation, we must always strive to remain constitutional and law-abiding, because in the absence of peace, that is when we know what war is, and that thing has happened. You know, Kenya has been praised as an island of peace amidst a turbulent sea. We've seen that in our neighboring countries that I do not wish to call by names. We are nowhere exceptional. This thing actually is contagious. Now you can see the Gen Zs, the dangerous treasonous criminal blanket statement that was used by the president is being used as a point of reference in other African countries that are going even under serious challenging circumstances that are above what we are going through. The president, in his statement, in the first State of Nation address, I expected a bold, respectful, and humble president, a man who would differentiate a time to chest thump and a time to be humble. I expected the president to first highlight, because constitutionally it is the responsibility of the president to protect lives. Those are not words I'm inserting upon him. When he swore to protect the constitution in Kenya, when he took over the office, one of the fundamental rights he ought to have protected was the right to live. Therefore, he ought to have acknowledged the deaths that we saw. It was unjustifiable, it was unnecessary. Okay. Going forward, the president would have issued a firm instruction on the people who have committed the heinous crimes against humanity to be held individually responsible, because whenever the police are going to the streets, we have a manual of operation. No one is going to do everything. We have a center of command who issued that command. I even remember asking, when I was surrounded by police land cruisers, that we need to take individual responsibility for person who did this or who give the orders to shoot to kill. Okay. Going away from that, the agencies are saying the government is battling the debt financing problem, and then we need to restructure our debt financing. Then we need to do away with
just we'll come into all the issues that have actually been pointed out. But let me come to you. I want to understand, because
and why you've cut me short. I was explaining to you how the president was going to do this. He was going to fire the ministers. That is
I'll come to that.
He was going to dissolve parliament and do away with people like
I will come to that. We will come to that and try to figure out what's the next step that should actually be taken. Let me come to you. This is the thing. Ruto must go is what now we are calling for. At what point did we get to this particular? Because he started with reject finance bill. When did we feel like he's totally let the country down and failed to, failed as a president, that we're now calling for his removal from office? Let me start with that.
The first place where he messed up, was failing to listen to the youths. That's the first thing. Because remember, even before, he declined to assent to the finance bill, the controversial finance bill. It was a week full of, the whole country was out trying to tell him, kindly, this is not whatever we want. This bill is going to do more harm than good. Kindly listen to us. But what did we get back? It was the likes of Kina Osoro talking to the way his advisors, calling us wankers.
So the way the message was received initially is what agitated the
people.
Then, and even the president acknowledged that in his State of Nation address the other day, that he has been miscommunicating with the people and even the communication team. So we are nowhere in the utopian world. Whatever it is we are saying is actually.
But again, there's irony to that, because despite him acknowledging that his communication team failed, he was aware of our demands. So I'm failing to understand, how are you aware of our demands that we put there? Like, for example, the one he mentioned, like the reduction of salaries, the ouster of the office of the First Lady. I was surprised he was aware of that, and yet all this time for a whole week we were out there trying to send a message, yet he didn't grab or capture whatever we were trying to drive out. Another thing that led to this state that we are in right now is him, because now we are past finance bill, because it was rejected, but also we are still in doubt, because there's the way the constitution alleges, like after 14 days something, it hasn't been put out clearly yet that is this finance bill really out, because there are some doubts also with the clauses, deleting of the clauses and recalling back. So, but let us assume that we are out of the finance bill. Another place where the president failed to get it right is the prosecution or the actions to be taken against almost half of his cabinet, because there are all these issues of corruption. Although we are going to get to that, but that's one thing that has propagated or propelled the demonstration this far, because the youths were so clear. Kindly, those who are involved in scandals, corruption scandals, can they step down while the investigation is being done? Okay,
the president did say, I can't fire people without proper evidence. He's not going to, be what to practice again what happened in the last regime, whereby cabinet secretaries were being fired just because on allegations of having misappropriated funds and things like that. That was his statement. That's what he said. I will not fire people without proper evidence. What do you say to that? Because you are saying your cabinet secretaries are corrupt, but he's saying, okay, so what's the evidence that proves they are corrupt?
I can't take I'm sorry, but I can't take the president's words to I can't believe it, because the same president, from whatever he presented to us during his campaigns or whatever, is different, is totally different to whatever he has implemented. Like, for example, we can use extreme areas, like, for example, the education sector, the health sector. These are not the things that he is not implementing. These are not the things that he promised. So even him coming to the public and telling us that I cannot prosecute somebody without evidence, is still first, we can't believe that, because already that trust is lost. So
but you see, at the end of the day, we have a constitution that says that you are innocent until you're proven guilty. So if it's an allegation, but if the courts don't find you guilty, then of course you are accused of corruption, but were you found guilty, you are not. So what happens in that particular case?
That begs the question of a functional institutions. We do not wish to have President Ruto stay in power even for 20 years or 10 years, but his commitment to reaffirming the independence and functionality of these constitutional institutions is the solace that Kenyans are seeking for. As long as the institution, if I'm taken to court today, I am processed in a police station and prosecuted in the best possible legal way, we don't have a problem with that. As long as I have been accused of public theft and relevant institutions are unleashed to do their constitutional responsibility, I don't have a problem with that. So the failure and this, conflict of interest, state capture, this is something that the president was so loud about. The state capture, I don't know what is state capture in his mindset, but I've seen state capture happening under the presidency of President William Ruto. We've seen the moment the president took over power, he directed funds to the judiciary, a move that most of the people of Kenya read as a bribery attempt. He went ahead and captured parliament. Now today, we no longer have a parliamentary institution that can hold the executive accountable. This is a usurpation of the sovereignty of the people. You know, Brian, under the 2010 Constitution, Article 1 and 2, Chapter 1 of the Constitution speaks of Article 1, the sovereignty of the people, and then Chapter 2 speaks of the supremacy of the Constitution, and then 3 also speaks of the defense of that Constitution. So you realize that the moment the executive has captured parliament, then judiciary is also somehow they are in the process of negotiation of going to bed with the executive. Who is left? And that's why I say the only surviving sovereign institution in this country today is the people, because the people have not been bought. All these other arms have been bought. Why would you call a PAG at State House? You are summoning an executive arm of government that is equally powerful as the executive to your door. Then you issue instructions before the MPs and tell them, hii mambo nataka by saa fulani ikuwe imemalizwa. Surely, Brian, what do you expect? So whatever it is that the president is facing today is a build-up, or actually is the trigger. The people of Kenya have been bitter. Okay. Not with President William Ruto alone, even with Uhuru Kenyatta and the predecessors. But the trigger is the finance bill, the arrogance, chest thumping, opulence, and attitude of I don't care. Imagine an MP who is earning less than 800,000 is dishing 20 million every weekend on an Arambe.
Okay.
Imagine an MP.
I can feel your pain.
It is so sad. And then I'm sitting here. I have worked in a public hospital. You find old persons cannot even access medical services. We don't have enough personnel in the hospital, not even in the mortuaries to take care of the dead ones. I mean, we are taking this country for a joke. And I think if the president is not serious, the writings are on the wall. I know even biblically, now that this is a prayerful government, we had King Ahab and prophets of Baal. I can see King Ahab and prophets of Baal. The president is acting in the capacity of King Ahab, while the religious leaders around him and the advisors are the prophets of Baal. Okay. When the people shall decide that enough of the biblical preachings, now you see the writings on the wall. But it's never too late to do the right thing.
But this is the thing. Talking about doing the right thing, he is calling for a conversation with the youth. But with this conversation, at the end of the day, still, the youth seem to be a little bit distant with it. You seem like, yes, you still have time to do the right thing, and he's open to having a conversation.
Brian, on the conversation, I am of the, we've had conversations in this country. We've had bipartisan, but now we want multi-partisan approach. We do not want conversations on X. We do not want these committees to...
Where should the conversation happen?
I'm coming there. The president campaigned. He used to meet us freely. He never had his securities. I used to stand around the president's car. He never had too much security. He was a man who could say hi to people, buy chapati with Rigathi Gachagua and chew them in public, even chew Mera. What has suddenly changed? Come to Kasarani, announce a public holiday. You are going to meet the youths in the whole 47 counties.
I'll tell you what has changed. What has changed this time around is that people are very angry and he has no idea what kind of fuck he's going to
we are not mad. We are not mad. That's why you saw some of the young people saved MPs who were left by their colleagues to die in the hands of angry protesters. We are not out there to loot. We are not out there to kill. We are not out there to harm or inflict injury on any person. We are out there to speak our mindset. The president should just humble himself, dissociate with some of the misadvisors he has. And I know someone said somewhere that I think the problem we have is the president is advising those who are advising him on how to advise him. So we cannot have a sense of direction. Let the president come to Kasarani or whichever stadium. Let him announce that today, on Monday, we are going to open doors at KICC. The first 500 youths to arrive, you'll be allowed to register to be speakers in that event because we must have order.
Let me engage.
Let us converge.
Let me engage Amos here
and go ahead, but not calling us to status. I don't want bribes. I will not come. I'm not coming.
That is the thing. I want to engage you before I release you, so that I get to have Babu. This is the thing. How would you suggest that this particular conversation is conducted? Because one, he said, of course, speak to you through the media, but you're like, you're not listening to us. We need you to speak to us. Then he's like, I'm willing to come to X spaces if you suggest that. And he's like, okay, sir. Because initially the call was, if you want to speak to us, we are on X. No. We do X spaces, so you can come on that particular platform. And on Sunday he did say, okay, I will come on X if that's what you want. Let's set a date. Thursday it is. So Thursday the president is going to be on X.
How but even if be allowed to speak, who will pick the people to speak? we are not. I'm not for X. Let the president come and meet us in person. We will talk peacefully.
In person? How does he meet you in person? You don't want to go to State House.
Why should we go to State House?
So where does he meet you?
Accommodate all of us.
Purpose of transparency and accountability.
You see, these constitutional officers.
So actually, where do you meet?
Let us meet at Kasarani. Where did he take his oath? Where did he declare his plan? The plan. I have a plan.
But this is the thing. When you go to Kasarani, when you go to Kasarani to be the president, who is going to speak on whose behalf? Because everybody wants a voice.
Let us announce that next week, but one. No, there is no rush. We are going to speak. Allow people to register. Those who want to speak the only identification you should be requested for is your ID, ascertaining you are a Kenyan and you are a young person. Go register. Say I'm going to speak on that event. It should be as transparent as it is, because we must have order in as much as we have agitation.
Yeah.
Let people go. Just a minute. Yeah. Let people go. We will speak in the order of the list that have been provided. Let this transcend to other counties. The president should not delegate the responsibility to listen to people, to committees. We never elected committees. Come to us. We are the bosses and you are the servant at the top.
Okay, that looks practical.
I'm jumping into that conversation. So I'm not going to let Sankara slide into calling the president to show up in Kasarani, because majority of Kenyans, majority of us young people across Kenya are obviously expressing our disappointment in the government promises, in the government, in the way the government is direction is. They promised a number of jobs. They promised the digital dividend to be improved. They promise a lot of perks for young people. So if you ask the president to show up in Kasarani, what will someone from Mombasa say as well?
No,
what will somebody...
people of Nairobi and Kasarani go to Mombasa, meet them in Tononoka, go to Kisumu, meet at us.
Exactly.
Yeah. In person. No,
exactly. So,
yes.
But
so help me understand here.
And where are you missing? I'm here. Ask me, I will explain. It is possible.
We have to be very inclusive of
Yes,
every young
because
person
if
in
we
this
go
country.
to X,
Yeah.
there are people I've seen on the demonstration, because I've gone to the streets actually, and that day I left, I got frantic phone calls because I spoke to Al Jazeera and France 24, and I was saying the president has captured the judiciary and parliament. I do not apologize. That is the position. What we want is that those people who are on the front line, some of them do not have smartphones. Although they said that the people who are protesting are coming in smartphones, iPhones, dropping in Ubers and eating at KFC. Did you see the menu at Parliament? What is wrong with a person eating his own pocket at KFC? Is it a crime for a young person to look smart, eat well, and live a good life if MPs are manifesting opulence and extravagance all over? So, when we do this, we are going to put into consideration those young men from Kibera, those young men from Mabunga, those young men from Kisumundogo in Mombasa. Everyone is going to have a fair opportunity, because we've said first come, first serve. You are agitated, yes. Go register to speak. The president will be there. Denis Itumbi should be left out of this. I know how he works. He is one of the people who has misled President William Ruto. I can say this before even a gunpoint. Denis Itumbi should not appear anywhere on this. Let the people register. Let the president sit there. Let us be given mic, and we will speak to the president. And we are not speaking so that we entertain him and listen to what we are saying. He must act and not promise anymore. If you've said this ministry has failed, we recommend this. This is the sovereign power of the people. As a servant of the people at the top, yours is just to say, you want this? Yes, sir. He should address us, yes, sir. Not we addressing him, but we respect the president. But the president.
So what you're going for is not let's have a conversation and I promise that I'm going to work on it. It's like what we propose you do is what we want you to start acting on that immediately.
Exactly. We want to do away with extravagant spendings. We are funding unconstitutional offices while defunding constitutional institutions like the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health. We want those offices like who elected Musalia Mudavadi? He was appointed by President William Ruto. The office of the Prime Minister. Kenya is overrepresented. China has a population of 1.6 billion people. Their legislation or legislature composure is less than what Kenyans have. We have one of the best paid MPs all over the world. With the current recommendations from SRC, you've seen MPs are going to pocket over 800,000 in their pocket going home. While we have a defunded Ministry of Education, we are not going to post 46,000 teachers of JSS, because the president is saying, you people rejected the finance bill. And the finance bill, they were seeking to collect close to 350 something billion. We are now going to borrow almost $1 trillion. So we are agitating against debt financing structure. You are still telling us to our eyes, I am going to borrow so that the government run. We can do what we call, for lack of a better word, I've just forgotten, but there's a very financial term that we use in these offices to ensure that we spend on what we are spending. Today, Moses Kuria confirmed that a driver has not gone out for 3 months. Now, because the CS is in Mombasa, the driver is driving a government vehicle, fueled on government fee, parked at a government fee, just because he has not been out for 3 months and is on salary. He is going out because the CS is going. We really want accountable trips. The other day you saw the president used over 200 million to carry Denis Itumbi to take a photo next to a poster in the USA. Was that really necessary? Carry people who are actually adding value to our economy. I am a father.
Okay.
I do not want to pay taxes for extravagant spending at the expense of people dying. Why should we discuss Kenyans as suffering people all over? 60 years after independence, I still sit here. I speak of Kenyans as the people who are suffering. While our age mates are making vehicles, assembling some of them and sending it here. The politicians cannot invest here. They have extravagant, investments in overseas. I know I am very sad. I'm very angry. In fact, I'm leaving this place to the streets. I'm going to demonstrate.
Okay. Let me come to you before I release you, because you needed to jump in initially. How does this conversation happen? Sangara proposes that people go to to Kasarani, and the president should meet people at specific locations depending on which region you come from. And also, as you answer that particular question, there's one thing that actually comes out is that you cannot trust the president. So even if he gave you a promise when you are having a conversation with him, what then happens? Would you believe that? What happens?
To begin with, the show of goodwill and for the restoration of trust. Amongst the key demands for the Generation Z is first bring out those who are having scandals. Just going back, those who are having scandals, allegations, because you are from your point there was no actual evidence, or from his point there was no actual evidence. These are allegations. We can't have people who are having allegations in these offices. Let them step down for a given time until those evidence is found. For the restoration of trust, then so that we may at least that trust may be regained. Today I was going through the papers, and even the latest news right now is that the NTSA cannot account for 1.2 billion, and yet we're crying that rejection of the finance bill is the one that is going to make us have a deficit in the budget. Yet the NTSA, the structured amount was 500 billion, that we're going to have a deficit of 500 billion there. Then the president came and...
Right, just what you can see on the screen, of course, protesters have carried coffins and placed them on the streets of Nairobi. Yes, those are quite a number of coffins there. They've been able to be brought there by protesters, and I see police officers trying to move them, and to some extent a representation of what has been happening in the past few days, whereby we've been able to see quite a number of people died as a result of this particular protest. And so when people were taking to the streets today to protest, they were seeking justice for those who have died as a result of this particular protest, and they've been able to be shot by police officers who are trying to contain the protest ever since it started 2 weeks ago. So those are coffins, of course, quite a number. I believe there are around 7 there. Okay, so let's listen into what is happening there. to you from the city of Nairobi, and of course we've been able to see coffins there. Protesters have been able to put coffins on the streets. There were about quite a number, I believe around 7, and police were trying to remove them and put them in that particular lorry that is on the screen. Of course, what you're seeing right now is an arrest attempt. The protesters and a protester rather engaging a police officer, if you can call it that, and being bungled here and there. So I believe he's been able to escape. So he's been able to escape that arrest. He lives to see another day today, not in a police cell. Of course, there tear gas trying to disperse those people that have gathered there, as they try to remove the coffins that are currently on the street. This is Moi Avenue, Nairobi. And yes, so initially, when people were taking to the streets today, the message was we're seeking justice for the people that had been killed due to this particular protest, and those that died by the gun, especially after being shot by police officers. The number right now stands at 39. So it was seeking justice for them until, for this particular 7 days that will be coming, until the Sabasaba day, where we're expecting quite a lot of action as far as protests are concerned in the country. So this message, to some extent, gets to communicate the message that we were on the streets, people were killed. These coffins represent justice for those that died fighting for their rights here in the country in the past 1 week. That is Moi Avenue. 3 coffins right now on the streets. Some have already been put in that particular lorry. They've been, all of them, they were about I believe 7. Some of them are in that white lorry there. They're not 3, there are 4 coffins on that particular streets of Moi Avenue right now, and police trying to remove them. This is an indication of just how people are, practicing their constitutional right when it comes to picketing, trying to send the message out there on exactly how they feel and their anger, of course. Yeah. What do you make of this? Let me start with you, Ken. Ken, thank you so much for joining us, by the way. So what do you make of this? What you're seeing on your screen right now is...
I think, Brian, this is so serious, and it's a communication to the president that things are getting out of hand. And the demands that the people are giving the president, I think there's very simple things that he should not allow it to go to this extent. I don't know why the president is allowing himself to take bullets on behalf of few people who decided to make individual mistakes. You get that? Someone like Mithika Linturi should not be in the system right now as it stands.
We are not mentioning names, my
No,
friends.
okay, fine, okay. But that it is in the public domain that we had our parents traumatized by fake fertilizers.
He's holding a public office.
He's holding a public office, a public officer. Get that? And when he was being grilled to hold that office, we were allowed to call his name. How special is it that now that we cannot call his name? Okay. The guy traumatized our parents with fake fertilizer, and that's the truth on the public. We do not need God to come and tell the president that this guy need to go home. Okay. He should go home. Let me dive into the issue of conversation that the president called.
Why are you putting on sunglasses, Ken?
Thank you, my brother, for that concern. I think out of many 54 million Kenyans, including the president, he's the only person who has asked me why I'm wearing these glasses. And I want to say, to make it clear, that I'm wearing these glasses so that I can be able to see the truth in this government. It has been so sad. It is so sad that I could not see any truth in this government without glasses.
But these are sunglasses. They're going to prevent you from doing
glasses. It must be bright for you to use a sunglasses. Unless you want to see the truth, you use lenses.
Yeah.
I'm trying to identify, locate the truth in President Trump's words.
The truth is white, and there's too much darkness.
There's too much.
Okay,
now let me put it to context. The president called for a dialogue with the young people, but I don't recall us being on the street asking the president that we want a dialogue, because the things we are calling for are things that do not need a sit down for him to take effect.
Okay, I'll come to you. Of course, those are live pictures coming to you. It's a split screen there. You were able to see police are trying to remove those coffins. That is on Moi Avenue in Nairobi, here in the CBD. And also the other picture is on Waiyaki Way, whereby protesters had gathered and they've been able to be dispersed. using tear gas, I believe. And yes, sir. So quite that again. That's a tear gas canister being launched there. And trying to disperse those protesters that are gathering, I believe, trying to make their way to the Central Business District, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So those are actions. Different parts of the country, you know, that's protests are being carried out, sir, as you can see on your screen at the moment. Of course, and we'll be, you know, briefing you as we continue to cover these particular live events. Okay, back to you.
Thank you. I wanted to put out clear why there is no urgent need for young people having a sitting with the president. We've had an article before. The reports are gathering dust somewhere, we don't know, and the president is the one who should take effect on it. Now, we asked the president that we want to see the unconstitutional offices scrapped off. Get that? We asked the president that we want to see the corrupt leaders in this government sent to where they should be.
Because they know
we asked the president that we want to see, these people masquerading as status as advisors, the 131 plus David Itumbi, David.
All right, Ken Babu, I'm sorry that I keep on interrupting you, but you see, it's live TV. So I want us to take a listen to what is happening in Voi, whereby the road to Nairobi-Mombasa has actually Nairobi-Mombasa highway has been barricaded, and youth there are carrying out their constitutional right when it comes to protest. Let's listen into what they're saying.
Ruto is unfit and unqualified. He is unfit and unqualified to be the president of this country. Ametuseli kwa kila njia.
Yes, niko tayari sana. Niko tayari. Taita Taveta County, mchipuko 1 2. Taita Taveta County. Okay, asante sana mtazamaji, ni kwamba tuko live katika barabara kuu ya Mombasa kuelekea Nairobi, na kama ni za wao kwa faidi wao.
Hazimfaidi mwananchi anaumia, lakini wenyewe hawasikii.
Lakini pengine kwa kuja barabarani, mna uamuzi gani kama waandamanaji kusimama hapa katikati ya barabara ya Mombasa kuelekea Nairobi? Kule kusimama katika barabara ya Mombasa, mnatamani kufanya nini?
Sisi tunataka mabadiliko ya kiuchumi. Tulikuwa tunataka mabadiliko ya kiuchumi, lakini sasa tunataka hao watu wote ambao wametusaliti waondoke, sababu hawawezi tuongoza. You can't kill us and lead us.
Ndio. You are not our leader, you are our leader.
Vijana hawana kazi, vijana wanateseka, vijana have nothing to live for. Na Ruto anaua ndugu zetu, anaua madada zetu. Hatukuwa na anything to live for, lakini sasa hivi tuko na something to die for.
Sawa, asante sana. Mwingine hapa niweze kuongea nawe kwa dakika moja peke yake, ongea kuhusu pengine kusimama hapa barabarani ya Mombasa kuelekea Nairobi. Mtazamo wenu ni gani hii leo wakati wa maandamano?
Sisi kama majenzi, siku ya leo tulikuwa tumeamua, hakuna barabara, tulikuwa tumeamua kufunga juu wameua majenzi wengi. Leo ni siku yetu ya kuomboleza. Tunaambiwa pole wale ambao wamepoteza maisha yao. Sisi kama majenzi hatutarudi nyuma, hivi vita tunapigana mpaka mwisho, mpaka kieleweke. Ruto ametuita sisi majenzi criminals, lakini sisi we are not criminals.
Asante sana. Taarifa ya wenyeji wa hapa Voi wakisema ya kwamba wamefunga barabara kuu ya Mombasa kuelekea Nairobi kama njia moja ya kusikika.
Right, that is Voi along the Mombasa-Nairobi highway, whereby agitated youth, of course, have taken to the streets to just engage in the anti-government protests that we've been experiencing in different parts of the country. Those have not been left behind as far as as far as calling out the government and calling for the resignation of most of the members of parliament and also the president himself for what they term as betrayal.
Big